Hexagram number 38. Opposition, misunderstanding. Opposition describes a situation in which people go in opposite directions due to misunderstanding. Either we misunderstand the sage, fate, the meaning of life, the cosmic order of values, ourselves and others, or others misunderstand us. In Ching terms, people follow false paths and oppose the truth, not because they are contrary or bad, but because they misunderstand the truth. They perceive that following the truth will lead them to difficulties, so they adopt a hopeless attitude about following them. Forgive me. So they adopt a hopeless attitude about following the good. They do not perceive that only by following the path of the true and the good can they achieve what they really seek. Such misunderstandings occur when we focus only on the external factors in a situation. We may imagine all sorts of reasons why a thing can't work, without realizing that our negative thoughts block the success we seek. Simply by freeing ourselves from these moods, we reopen the door to success. We often receive this hexagram when we begin to suspect that everything is going against us, or that we must meet life's challenge without help from any source, or that there is no purpose to life, or that hostile events have no meaning. This hexagram tells us that although we fail to realize it, we are being helped. We should not allow ourselves to become isolated by mistrusting the life process. Events have meanings we are not meant fully to comprehend. Our life has higher purposes we are meant to fulfill. Adversity is necessary to growth and to the fulfillment of our higher nature. The primary reason we misunderstand is that we fail to take into account the presence of the higher power in all our activities. Hostile events occur when we obstinately refuse to consider its reality. The degree to which we disregard the higher power is the extent to which it resists aiding us. The extent of our obstinacy is the extent to which the higher power must shock us to make us aware of its presence. When we experience shock, the higher power is simply knocking at the door of our consciousness to say, "See, I am here too, and you cannot disregard me in this situation. Once we become aware of the hidden force present in every situation, we are aided in everything we set out to do. Events need not be hostile. Like a river, the cosmos flows along a certain course. When we paddle our boat sideways, we hit the bank. When we paddle upstream, we become exhausted and give up. When we go with the cosmos, all goes well. We often receive this hexagram because we distrust the sage, our teacher. We think he is indifferent or out to get us in some way, or that perhaps he is a trickster. We are simply misunderstanding the way things work. Our ego, for instance, always wants to see a straight line to success. The way of the sage, however, is the way of nature, diverse and roundabout. Everything is achieved by hidden means that work matters out as a whole. Just as the power of the sun, the earth, the wind, and the water all contribute to the growing and maturing of things, the path meanders out of the sight and measurement of our ego. We must learn to trust this hidden process and cling to it, for it is the inner truth that carries on when everything seems impossible. It is the Tao that can be realized but which cannot be known. It has no rules that can be memorized, yet when we perceive it, all opposition melts away. We are in harmony with it and are nourished by it. Fire and water never mingle. It is the same with enlightenment and worry. We cannot see with clarity, attain the cosmic view as long as we are subject to restless fears. Opposition occurs because of mistrust, doubt, fear, or anxiety. While we are captivated by these emotions, we are unable to see that events that appear evil are often the only means by which matters may be clarified and corrected. It is essential to hold our minds open and eliminate mistrust by refusing to listen to our arguing ego. In times of opposition, situations cannot be rectified by frontal attacks, brusqueness, wooing, or persuasion. Effort only intensifies mistrust. We must truly disengage, go our own way with dignity, and depend on the power of truth to penetrate through gently. Finally, we should not chastise ourselves for misunderstanding, though being confronted by our ignorance and arrogance, we are able to become humble and attain true understanding. Misunderstanding is the necessary prelude to understanding. Just as the sage gives us the space to misunderstand, we need to give ourselves and others the space to err. Then, when the light of truth finally breaks through, understanding and enlightenment follow. Changing line number 1. If you lose your horse, do not run after it. It is not necessary to strive or struggle. We may safely flow with the events. If two people who are meant to be together become estranged, one need only let the other go for him to return of his own accord. We should not go more than halfway in trying to make anything work. Indeed, we must only come to meet others halfway. When they, as well as ourselves, make the effort to do the right thing, until they do, we must disengage and go on. This is true of all situations and is the correct waiting attitude. Changing line number 2. One meets his Lord in a narrow street. This means that opposition and misunderstanding break through momentarily because we disperse mistrust. An open attitude leads to a breakthrough in which we understand a general principle in the particular circumstance of the moment. Changing line number 3. A man's hair and nose cut off. We should not be influenced by the negative appearance of things, but stick to our path. True joy is founded on inner stability. We are being tested and tried. Changing line number 4. Isolated through opposition. We should not regard fate as hostile. Through such distrust and lack of steadiness in our way of life, we become isolated because we hold with wrong ideas and are not yet trustworthy in the cosmic sense. We become isolated from the sage, who retreats from cooperating closely with us. If we realize this and rejoin the correct path, we will become free of faults and be in harmony with others. and ourselves. In dispersing distrust and trying to do what is right, we will find help we need. Changing line number 5. The companion bites his way through the wrappings. The wrappings symbolize misunderstanding something. Here we bite through the misunderstanding, thus begin to understand correctly. For example, we misunderstand the sage's beneficial action and interpret events as fate being against us, or we do not perceive that another person is really sincere. Though this distrust, we have become isolated. Forgive me, through this distrust, we have become isolated. In persevering, in perceiving our error and discarding mistrust, we bite through the wrappings, thus regain our inner balance and independence. This line also means that others are gaining the insight needed to cease misunderstanding us. Changing line number 6. He is not a robber. Despite appearances, other people or the sage do not seek to harm us. Life or fate is not against us. An unpleasant situation is always compounded by mistrust and misunderstanding. When we let go of our inner defenses and return to an open mind, when we let go of our inner defenses and return to an open-minded readiness to see events as instructive of higher meanings, the situation will right itself. We always need to be aware of the emotional perceptions urged on us by our childish heart. This ends Hexagram 38.